Hey there, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a really powerful idea: how to move from a life that feels like you're constantly just putting out fires to one where you're actually in the driver's seat, living with purpose and, well, real intention. So, let me ask you, does this sound familiar? You wake up, you immediately grab your phone, and bam, suddenly notifications, emails, and news alerts are dictating your entire morning. It feels like you're just being tossed around by the day's demands, right? If you're nodding along, you're for sure not alone. This is what it feels like to live in reaction mode. Okay, so let's just lay it all out side by side. On one hand, you've got reactive living. This is when other people's priorities set your agenda. You feel kind of powerless against this constant flood of events and dings from your phone. But proactive living? That's a whole different ballgame. It's about taking that control back. It's about choosing how you respond and focusing your precious energy on building a life that actually lines up with what you want. So the million-dollar question is, how do we make that leap? Well, the whole journey really starts with your why. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't try to build a house without a blueprint, would you? Of course not. Your purpose is that blueprint for your life. It's the foundation that makes sure every single decision you make is building something you actually care about. You know, a really incredible example of this comes from Okinawa, Japan. It's one of the world's blue zones, these places where people live exceptionally long, happy, and healthy lives. And they have this concept called ikigai, which basically means your reason for waking up. This isn't just some fluffy, nice idea. For them, it's a core habit for longevity. It gives them this clear sense of direction from the moment they open their eyes. And get this, it's not just an Okinawan thing. If you go halfway across the world to Nicoya, Costa Rica, which is another blue zone, they call it Plan de Vida, a life plan. How cool is that? It just goes to show you that having a clear sense of purpose is this universal ingredient for a long, fulfilling life. And this quote from Cal Newport just perfectly connects that ancient wisdom with our crazy, modern, tech-filled lives. It completely flips the script. Instead of letting our phones and apps dictate our values, we have to let our values dictate which technology we even use. So before you download that new app or buy that new gadget, the question has to be, does this thing actually support what matters most to me? So once you've got your blueprint, your purpose, the next logical step is to prepare the construction site. And that means designing your environment, both the physical stuff around you and your digital world, to support your goals. Because let's be honest, if your space is cluttered, your mind is going to be cluttered too. It's that simple. For your physical space, here's a super simple but really effective way to get started. Just focus on one room at a time. Seriously, don't try to do the whole house at once. And use these 4 doxes. The 1-year rule is an amazing guide. If you haven't touched it or used it in a year, it's probably time to let it go. And remember, this is not just about tidying up. It's about creating the mental breathing room you need for peace and productivity. And of course, the exact same idea applies to our digital world. But look, this isn't about a temporary detox. Think of this 30-day digital declutter more like a hard reset for your brain. By stepping away from all that noise, you create this quiet space to rediscover what actually brings you joy and satisfaction. And then you become a really intentional gatekeeper. You only let back in the tools that have proven they truly serve your values. You are literally rebuilding your relationship with technology from the ground up. Okay, so you've got a clear purpose, you've designed a supportive environment. Now it's time to build the daily practices that actually turn those intentions into your reality. This is where small, consistent habits start to create massive, massive change over time. So let's go back to those blue zones for a second. What's so fascinating is that their longevity doesn't come from, running marathons or hitting the gym for hours. Nope, it's woven right into their daily lives through really simple habits. They move naturally just by gardening or walking. They have built-in routines to shed stress. Their diets are almost entirely plant-based. And they're absolute masters of mindful eating. And when we talk about plant power, it's often way simpler than you'd think. For so many of the world's longest-lived people, a daily serving of beans, just beans, is the cornerstone of their whole diet. It's such a great reminder that true health isn't about expensive superfoods or complicated meal plans. It's about getting back to simple, whole foods that nourish us. Which brings us to one of my absolute favorite habits, and it's captured by this number right here. It's the 80% rule. It's inspired by an Okinawan mantra, Hara Hachibu. They actually say it before their meals to remind themselves to stop eating when they feel about 80% full. It is such a simple practice, but it's a profound act of mindfulness that stops us from overeating and really honors our body's natural signals. Now, habits like that 80% rule
are really a form of mindfulness. And it's so important to get this. The benefits of any mindfulness practice, they're not a quick fix. They actually compound over time. As you can see here, you might start out just feeling a little less stressed after a few months, but if you stick with it, that initial relief deepens into a real, genuine inner calm. And eventually, it stops being something you do and just becomes part of who you are, an integrated lifestyle that helps you grow in compassion and self-awareness.
So you can really see it as this journey, moving from these quick wins to a deep, lasting transformation. You might start a mindfulness practice for that immediate stress relief, and that's great, but the real payoff is the long-term growth. It's the way it becomes a sustainable, integrated part of who you are. All right, this brings us to our final pillar, and honestly, this one is just so crucial. An intentional life is not a solo mission. It's all about cultivating deep, meaningful relationships. It's about finding and nurturing your tribe, the people who support you and lift you up. So how do we actually do this? Well, all the research from the Blue Zones points to finding your right tribe, a social circle that actually reinforces healthy, positive behaviors. It means investing real time and energy in the people you love. And when you are with them, really be with them. Give them your full, undivided attention. Choose that real human connection over the constant pull of a digital distraction. And this is the fundamental choice we're all facing every day. On one side, you have deep connection. It's about quality, presence, and authenticity. On the other side, often fueled by social media, you've got the world of shallow connection. It's all about quantity, distraction, and performance. Living an intentional life means you are consciously and consistently choosing the left side of this image. So as we start to wrap up, I think the most important thing to remember is this. That shift we've been talking about, from putting out fires to being in the driver's seat, it's not some final destination you arrive at. It's a continuous journey. It's a practice of clearing the clutter and choosing your path, day in and day out. And that really brings us to the end. We've talked about finding your purpose, designing your space, building better habits, and nurturing your connections. But all of it all starts with a single small step. So I want to leave you with this one question. What is one intentional choice you are going to make today to move toward a more proactive, purposeful life?